What if I told you there's a sports car with 892,000 miles that still rips through canyon roads like it just left the showroom? Sounds like fantasy, right? Well, there's a 1990 Mazda Miata in California that's been driven daily for 3 decades with its original engine and transmission intact. That's like driving to the moon, back, and then halfway there again. Today, we're counting down 12 legendary sports cars that proved performance doesn't have to mean problems. And stick around because number 1 will absolutely blow your mind. This sports car actually gets more reliable as it ages. Number 12. BMW E36 M3, 1995 to 1999. Before BMW discovered subscription services and plastic water pumps, they accidentally built an M3 that could survive nuclear winter. The E36 M3 wasn't just the last affordable M car, it was BMW's final masterpiece before complexity became their religion. The naturally aspirated inline-6 engine delivered 240 horsepower without turbo complications that haunt modern BMWs. This S50, S52 motor was so overbuilt that BMW engineers probably got fired for forgetting to include expensive failure points. These engines regularly cross 300,000 miles while still pulling hard to redline. What made the E36 special was its mechanical simplicity disguised as sophistication. The Vanos system was actually reliable. Imagine that. Variable valve timing that didn't require a second mortgage to repair. The cooling system, once properly sorted with upgraded components, lasted indefinitely instead of failing every 60,000 miles like modern BMWs. The 5-speed manual transmission shifted with rifle-bolt precision that never degraded. Unlike modern dual-clutch units that cost $7,000 to rebuild, this ZF gearbox just needed occasional fluid changes to last forever. The limited slip differential was equally bulletproof, transferring power reliably for hundreds of thousands of miles. Interior materials were actually made from materials, real leather that aged gracefully, genuine aluminum trim that didn't peel like cheap nail polish, and gauges that continued working decades later. Build quality from this era still embarrasses many current sports cars. Today's E36 M3 values are climbing because enthusiasts recognize them as the last analog M cars. You get genuine BMW motorsport DNA without the electronic nannies and subscription features that plague modern performance cars. Number 11. Nissan 300ZX Twin Turbo, 1990 to 1996. Nissan engineers in 1990 looked at European sports cars breaking down expensively and said, "Hold our sake, we're building a supercar killer that actually works." The Z32-300ZX Twin Turbo was their technological showcase that proved Japanese reliability could coexist with serious performance. The VG30DETT Twin Turbo V6 was engineering overkill in the best way possible. 2 turbochargers, intercoolers the size of briefcases, and internals strong enough to handle twice the stock power. These engines regularly hit 250,000 miles on original turbos when maintained properly. Try that with a contemporary Ferrari. The 4-wheel steering system was genuinely revolutionary, not marketing nonsense. Unlike modern electronic systems that fail expensively, Nissan's Hiace used hydraulics that lasted indefinitely with basic maintenance. The system provided stability that embarrassed Porsches costing twice as much. Every component was designed assuming owners would drive them hard. The brakes were massive for the era, the cooling system was sized for track duty, and the transmission was built to handle serious power. The 5-speed manual was essentially bulletproof, while even the automatic could handle spirited driving for decades. Japanese attention to detail meant these cars aged gracefully. While European competitors developed rattles and electrical gremlins, 300ZXS maintained their precision. Switches still clicked satisfyingly, gauges remained accurate, and systems functioned as intended after 30 years. The complexity that scared away some buyers actually represented durability. Everything was over-engineered to last. Today's survivors prove that proper maintenance rewards owners with supercar performance and Toyota-like reliability. Number 10. Acura NSX, 1991 to 2005. Honda's engineers didn't just benchmark Ferrari, they built something that embarrassed Maranello by proving supercars didn't need to be temperamental divas. The NSX was reliability wrapped in aluminum that happened to destroy everything on track. The naturally aspirated V6 engine was quintessential Honda, high-revving perfection that treated 200,000 miles like a gentle break-in period. VTEC wasn't just a meme, it was engineering brilliance that provided both efficiency and performance without compromise. These engines sang to 8,000 RPM for decades, without missing a beat. The aluminum construction wasn't just about weight savings, it was about building something that would never rust, never deteriorate, never give owners reasons to sell. While steel-bodied competitors dissolved into iron oxide, NSXs maintained their structural integrity indefinitely. Ayrton Senna's development input created handling that remained benchmark-worthy for decades. The suspension geometry was so perfect that modern sports cars still study it. More importantly, those components lasted hundreds of thousands of miles without losing their precision. The manual transmission was Honda at their absolute peak, shifts that felt like mechanical poetry, while being strong enough for track abuse. The titanium connecting rods weren't showing off. They were Honda ensuring these engines would outlast civilizations. Daily drivability separated the NSX from other supercars. Air conditioning that actually cooled, visibility that didn't require prayers, and reliability that made it practical for grocery runs. You could track it on Sunday and commute on Monday without worry. Number 9. Chevrolet Corvette C5, 1997 to 2004. GM engineers apparently forgot they were supposed to build planned obsolescence into the C5 Corvette. Instead, they created America's sports car that could embarrass Europeans at half the price with twice the reliability. The LS1 V8 engine was mechanical immortality disguised as 5.7 liters of American thunder. These pushrod masterpieces regularly crossed 300,000 miles while maintaining enough power to humble modern sports cars. No complex overhead cams, no temperamental direct injection, just simple, effective engineering that worked forever. The hydroformed frame was revolutionary, providing rigidity that previous Corvettes could only dream about. This structural integrity meant these cars maintained their precision for decades instead of developing the cowl shake that plagued earlier generations. The transaxle design balanced weight distribution while proving remarkably reliable. The 6-speed manual transmission was essentially unbreakable. Owners reported shifting quality actually improving with mileage, as components wore in perfectly. The automatic was equally robust, handling the LS1's torque without drama. Interior materials exceeded previous Corvette standards, though still not matching European levels. But here's the thing, those materials lasted. While Porsche interiors developed sticky buttons and failing electronics, C5 Corvettes just accumulated miles gracefully. Performance per dollar was unmatched. You got supercar acceleration, respectable handling, and daily drivability at prices that made European manufacturers nervous. More importantly, maintenance costs remained reasonable throughout ownership. Number 8. Porsche Boxster 986, 1997 to 2004. Before Porsche discovered PDK transmissions and turbocharged everything, they built the 986 Boxster as their return to simplicity. What emerged was a mid-engine sports car that proved Porsche reliability wasn't just for 911s. The M96 engine, despite its IMS-bearing reputation, was actually robust when properly maintained. Owners who changed oil religiously and addressed the IMS preemptively found these engines crossing 200,000 miles without major issues. The key was understanding the weakness and addressing it, after which you had Porsche reliability at Honda Civic prices. The 5-speed manual transmission was typical Porsche perfection, precise shifts that never degraded, synchros that lasted forever, and clutches that handled enthusiastic driving for 100,000 plus miles. The Tiptronic automatic was surprisingly durable for early paddle shift technology. Mid-engine balance provided handling that embarrassed cars costing significantly more. The chassis was so well sorted that many racing instructors preferred teaching in Boxsters over 911s. That handling precision remained consistent for decades with proper suspension maintenance. Build quality exceeded most competitors from this era. Panel gaps remained tight, the convertible top mechanism stayed reliable with basic maintenance, and the galvanized body resisted corrosion indefinitely. These weren't just sports cars, they were Porsches built to Porsche standards. Now, if you're loving these mechanical legends that won't leave you stranded, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because we're about to reveal sports cars that literally refuse to die. Number 7. Honda S2000, 1999 to 2009. Honda engineers were apparently given one directive: build the most reliable sports car ever conceived. They didn't just succeed, they created something that made other manufacturers question the laws of physics. The F20C and F22C engine was Honda showing off. 9,000 RPM redlines, 240 horsepower from 2.0 liters naturally aspirated, and reliability that made Civic engines jealous. These motors regularly hit 300,000 miles while still screaming to redline like they're trying to reach orbit. VTEC in the S2000 wasn't just about performance, it was about creating an engine that could deliver supercar-specific output while lasting forever. The internals were forged like Honda expected owners to add boost, yet most stayed stock and just accumulated miles eternally. The 6-speed manual transmission was perfection incarnated in metal. Shifts were so precise that other manufacturers sent engineers to study it. More importantly, that precision never degraded. 200,000-mile S2000S shifted identically to new ones. The chassis rigidity exceeded many hardtop sports cars, despite being a convertible. Honda used high-strength steel and X-bone frame reinforcements that maintained structural integrity indefinitely. These cars didn't develop squeaks, rattles, or cowl shake even after decades of hard driving. Digital gauges that actually worked long-term, revolutionary for the era. While other manufacturers' LCD displays failed expensively, S2000 clusters remained perfect for decades. The mechanical precision extended to every component. Number 6. Mazda RX-7 FD, 1993 to 1995. The FD RX-7 proved that rotary engines could be reliable if you actually maintained them properly. While internet forums spread horror stories, properly maintained FDs were crossing 150,000 miles on original apex seals. The 13 BREW twin-turbo rotary was misunderstood genius. Yes, it required specific maintenance protocols, but follow them, and you had Japanese engineering that embarrassed European exotics. The sequential turbo system was remarkably reliable when cooling was addressed properly. The secret to FD reliability was treating it like the high-strung athlete it was. Premix fuel for apex seal lubrication, quality synthetic oil changed frequently, and proper warm-up, cool-down procedures. Owners who understood rotaries were rewarded with incredible reliability. The chassis was timeless perfection, weight distribution, suspension geometry, and structural rigidity that modern sports cars still aspire to match. These components aged gracefully, maintaining their precision for decades with basic maintenance. Interior quality exceeded typical Japanese sports cars. Real leather, functional gauges, and controls that maintained their precision indefinitely. While contemporary sports cars developed squeaks and rattles, FDs remained tight and precise. Today's values reflect growing appreciation for these mechanical masterpieces. Clean examples command premium prices because enthusiasts recognize them as the pinnacle of Japanese sports car engineering. If you're enjoying this countdown so far, don't forget to give this video a like. It's just a small click for you, but it means a lot and really helps the channel grow. And hey, if you're looking for trusted car maintenance products, check out the links down in the description. I've added a few reliable options that I personally recommend. They'll keep your car running strong for years. Number 5. Toyota MR2 Turbo, 1991 to 1995. Toyota built the SW20 MR2 Turbo as their proof that mid-engine sports cars didn't require Italian temperament or maintenance bills. They delivered a reliable Ferrari fighter that actually started every morning. The 3S GTE turbocharged 4-cylinder was Toyota reliability meets forced induction perfection. These engines regularly crossed 250,000 miles on original turbos when maintained properly. The internals were so overbuilt that many survived significant power increases without modification. The 5-speed manual transmission was typical Toyota, bulletproof construction that handled power reliably for decades. Unlike exotic mid-engine cars requiring expensive transaxle rebuilds, MR2s just needed occasional fluid changes. Mid-engine dynamics provided supercar handling at Corolla maintenance costs. The suspension design was so effective that many owners never modified it, finding the stock setup perfectly balanced for both street and track duty. Build quality embarrassed European competitors. Paint that remained glossy for decades, interior materials that aged gracefully, and mechanical components that simply refused to fail. These weren't just sports cars, they were Toyotas, built to Toyota standards. The T-top models added open-air excitement without compromising structural integrity. Unlike other removable roof sports cars that developed rattles, MR2s maintained their precision regardless of configuration. Number 4. Datsun 240Z, 1970 to 1973. Nissan's original Z wasn't just a sports car, it was Japan declaring war on European sports car unreliability. The 240Z proved that performance could coexist with durability that bordered on immortality. The L24 inline-6 engine was agricultural equipment masquerading as a sports car power plant. These motors regularly exceeded 400,000 miles with basic maintenance. No complex electronics, no proprietary components, just mechanical simplicity that worked forever. The genius was in the execution. Nissan took proven technology and refined it to perfection. Independent rear suspension, front disc brakes, and rack and pinion steering that provided modern dynamics with classic reliability. Rust was the only enemy, but properly maintained examples proved these cars were essentially immortal. The mechanical components were so robust that restoration typically involved addressing cosmetics, while drivetrains remained original. The 4-speed manual transmission was bulletproof, while the optional automatic was equally durable. Unlike British sports cars that leaked every fluid known to humanity, 240Zs maintained their fluids where they belonged. Parts availability remains excellent 5 decades later. The massive production numbers and enthusiast support mean these cars can be maintained indefinitely. Compare that to European contemporaries, where parts require second mortgages. Number 3. Porsche 911 SC, 1978 to 1983. The 911 SC represents peak Porsche reliability, before electronics complicated everything but after they'd solved the early car's weaknesses. This was the 911 that proved sports cars could be both thrilling and dependable. The 3.0-liter flat-six engine was Porsche's masterpiece of air-cooled perfection. These motors regularly crossed 300,000 miles while maintaining their distinctive sound and performance. The simplicity was beautiful. No water pumps to fail, no head gaskets to blow, just mechanical precision that improved with age. The G50 transmission introduced in later SCS was essentially indestructible. Previous 915 gearboxes were already robust, but the G50 achieved perfection. Owners reported these transmissions outlasting multiple engines without requiring rebuilds. Galvanized bodies meant these 911s resisted rust better than any previous generation. While earlier 911s dissolved into iron oxide, SCS maintained their structural integrity for decades. The build quality was Porsche at their absolute peak. The suspension design was perfected simplicity. Torsion bars that never sagged, struts that lasted hundreds of thousands of miles, and geometry that remained precise indefinitely. These cars handled identically at 300,000 miles as they did when new. Today's values reflect growing recognition of SC reliability. These aren't just classic 911s, they're the most dependable 911s ever built. Enthusiasts who understand reliability choose SCS over more powerful but less reliable variants. Number 2. Mazda Miata NA NB, 1989 to 2005. The original Miata formula was beautiful simplicity, take proven Mazda reliability, add perfect weight distribution, and create the most dependable sports car ever conceived. They succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams. The 1.6 and 1.8-liter engines were Mazda's interpretation of immortality. These motors regularly exceeded 300,000 miles while maintaining their eager character. No turbocharging complications, no variable valve timing failures, just naturally aspirated reliability that never quit. 5-speed manual transmission was perfection, shifts that felt telepathic, synchros that lasted forever, and clutches that handled enthusiastic driving for 150,000 plus miles. Even the automatic option was surprisingly durable for a sports car application. What made Miatas legendary was their refusal to punish owners for enjoying them. Drive one hard daily, maintain it basically, and it rewarded you with decades of reliable smiles. These cars proved that sports cars didn't require suffering. The chassis was remarkably rigid for a convertible, maintaining its integrity indefinitely. While other convertibles developed cowl shake and squeaks, Miata's remained tight and precise. The suspension components were equally robust, lasting hundreds of thousands of miles. Parts availability and affordability made long-term ownership practical. Everything was shared with other Mazda models or readily available aftermarket. You could maintain a Miata indefinitely without bankruptcy. Number 1. Toyota Supra MK3, 1986 to 1992. At the absolute pinnacle sits the MK3 Supra. And honestly, nothing else comes close to matching its combination of performance, reliability, and mechanical immortality. This wasn't just Toyota building a sports car, it was them showing the world that reliable performance wasn't an oxymoron. The 7MGTE turbocharged inline-six engine was Toyota's engineering manifesto, written in forged steel and aluminum. These motors regularly crossed 500,000 miles on original internals when maintained properly. The naturally aspirated 7MGE was even more bulletproof, with documented examples exceeding 600,000 miles while still pulling strongly. Toyota over-engineered everything to an almost pathological degree. The head gasket issue that plagued early models was solved with proper retorquing, after which these engines became essentially indestructible. The internals were so robust that many survived significant power increases on stock components. The R154 manual transmission was built like Toyota expected owners to double the power, which many did. These gearboxes handled 500-plus horsepower reliably for hundreds of thousands of miles. Even the automatic A340e was remarkably durable, lasting indefinitely with basic maintenance. What separated the MK3 from every other sports car was Toyota's systematic approach to reliability. Every component was tested beyond reasonable limits, then redesigned to be stronger. The cooling system was sized for racing, the brakes were massive for the era, and the suspension components were built to last decades. The interior quality embarrassed European competitors. Leather that aged beautifully, electronics that worked indefinitely, and build quality that maintained its precision for decades. These weren't just sports cars, they were Toyotas built to the absolute pinnacle of Toyota standards. Real-world examples validate the legend. Documented MK3s, with over 400,000 miles still daily driven, some approaching 500,000 miles on original drivetrains. These aren't isolated examples. High-mileage MK3s are surprisingly common because they simply refuse to die. The independent rear suspension was so well designed that many owners never modified it. The limited slip differential was equally bulletproof, transferring power reliably for hundreds of thousands of miles without maintenance. Today's values are climbing, as enthusiasts recognize these as the most reliable performance cars ever built. You get genuine sports car performance with Camry-like reliability, a combination that modern manufacturers still can't replicate. That's your countdown of 12 sports cars that defy planned obsolescence and deliver pure driving thrills for decades. Which one surprised you the most? Share your pick in the comments below. I have a feeling not many saw that Supra fact coming. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like. It's a small click for you, but it goes a long way in supporting the channel. Don't forget to subscribe to SUV Detective for more automotive legends, reliability rankings, and hidden gems. And if you're searching for the most reliable luxury cars and luxury sedans, make sure to watch the videos at the end of this one. They're packed with some truly exceptional picks. Remember, the best sports car isn't the fastest or the newest. It's the one that's still running perfectly after 300,000 miles.